registration list, which always leads to confiscation.
Well, the thing is if you look, Rob, in 2013, two-thirds of the gun laws that were enacted were pro-gun, okay, to loosen restrictions. So what happens is anytime there's a school shooting like this, you're going to see the gun grabbers come out, liberals like what's the ex-mayor of New York, Bloomberg. Okay,
yeah.
I've written about extensively. Yeah, his group comes out wanting to grab guns, but there's as much, if not more, pushback against the gun control lobbies by good, decent Second Amendment loving Americans who say no, and that's why any thought that this would be some kind of thing to confiscate firearms is ludicrous for them to think that they could pull something off like that and be able to get that kind of result.
All right, well, let's let Mr. Halbig respond to that. What do you have to say? You've been investigating this for a while. What are your conclusions that you've come up with?
Well, first of all, Rob, I got to make sure I'm talking to the right Keith Johnson, because I'm just looking here. Somebody today emailed me something that he stated, and it's an email that goes to Deanna Spingola, works for American Free Press, Dave Kahary works for American Free Press, Paul Angel, Chris Petterick, Michael Collins Piper. And this is the statement headline: Wolfgang Halbig is a fraud. He calls me a school resource officer. The guy you're talking about, Rob, has no clue as to what my life is like, what I've done in public service for the last 36 years. Wherever he's getting his information, well, I'll tell you what, he needs to come to my house and let's have a conversation, because he is so wrong. For him to call me a fraud and a liar, now let me tell you something, that's defamation, that's slander, that's libel, and he better get ready. So now, my comments to him: those researchers have dedicated their life in trying to take a look at Sandy Hook for what it is. There are so many items within that police report. It's a data dump. It's the worst report that was ever written, and it's not stated by Wolfgang Halbig. This is Mayor Jackson of Hamden, Connecticut, the chairman of this Governor Malloy Sandy Hook Commission on the Advisory Commission. He calls this the worst data dump. Number one, they're given a redacted report. Can you imagine? You're the commission. You are about to make recommendations that's going to change the gun laws in Connecticut. It's going to change mental health. It's going to change the First Amendment rights. And they get a redacted report. They don't even get to see the truth. They never, ever got to see the autopsy report of all of those 20 children and 7 adults. Now, how in the world can an advisory commission, Rob, in all fairness, come out, make solid recommendations that's going to affect the whole country, not just Connecticut? So if we're going to talk tonight, let's only talk about the facts. Only about the facts, and let's talk about the Newtown police. Let's talk about how they responded, and I'm ready to go.
All right, yeah, and I agree. Let's talk about what happened on that day, what we do know, and then, yeah, there's a lot of speculation out there, but I think the reason you have all this speculation, Keith, and I think you will agree, people do not trust the government, bottom line. People don't trust what the information they put out. They don't trust the conclusions they come up with. They're just ready to say, no, we don't believe you. We're going to look for alternative solutions. And you've got a myriad. You type in Sandy Hook conspiracy, it's hundreds of millions of videos. Everybody and their mother out there is looking at this from a different angle, and they're all bringing their collective expertise together, where not each person is a doctorate or a scientist out there, but by people pooling their knowledge. And I think that's the great thing about the internet. Yeah, you are going to get some, you're always going to get the crazies out there, but you're going to get that in anything. But the amount of information that has been combed over, I think is pretty, definitely demands some questions and definitely demands some answers. And I don't really think we're getting that from the people of Connecticut. Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, well, Mr. Halbig says he wants to talk about the facts. First, he brings up some email saying that I called him a fraud and a phony. Well, I'll say this right now. Mr. Halbig, you are a fraud, and you can go ahead and sue me for defamation or libel. If you can find an attorney to do that, you go ahead and do it. But we have caught you in so many lies, it's pathetic. You are not a law enforcement. You don't have significant law enforcement experience. Even on your website, you admit that you have 1 year as a ticket-writing Florida highway patrolman. Okay, you've gone on the Deanna Spingola show and said specifically that you were a homicide investigator in the past. That's a lie. When I brought it up in our debate that we had, you said, well, anytime you pull, and I'm just paraphrasing, anytime you pull a dead body out of a car, you're investigating a homicide. So you don't even know what a homicide is, Mr. Halbig. And you're going out there. Okay, you're going out there saying that you're an expert on Columbine. I've looked at the Columbine reports, even the governor's report, where it has a list of all of the people that they consulted. I don't see your name there. And I've asked you specifically many times to please give us the information on when you were consulted, because so many people out there believe that you're an expert on Columbine and active shooter events, and we haven't seen that. You have a training certificate you put up that's a 3.5-hour course from the National Incident Management Systems, NIMS, 3.5 hours that anybody can get. That's not the requirement to be an incident commander in an active shooter event. But yet, you're out there telling everyone that they should listen to you. You're the source. I don't go out there and talk about my limited law enforcement experience, which actually is more recent and longer than yours, because it's been so long. Back in the early 80s, it's been so long. Things have changed since then. And you say you want to talk about facts, and Rob, you said something about there are experts out there making videos. There are no experts out there. I talk to experts. These people, I would like to see one person with some credible law enforcement experience come forward and say, and pat Mr. Halbig on the back and say, yeah, there is something wrong here. Why don't we see that? Why don't we see medical personnel, active duty people right now coming forward and endorsing Mr. Halbig? We don't see that. We heard that he was going to have these people come forward, but they never have. I contact people. I contacted a clinical psychologist and interviewed him. You can find all of these interviews on my website, NewtownPostExaminer.com. I also, Mr. Halbig, contacted a glass expert, and I ran by his, your theory that nobody could go through that hole in the broken glass. He said that's ridiculous. I can read you excerpts from real experts, which you haven't even produced. You collected what, $40,000, and you can't even give us one expert to substantiate your claims? Ridiculous. Now, people always say, well, what's your proof that children died, and what's your proof that this happened? Go read the report. Go read the nearly 7,000-page report. Look at all the interviews out there. People have given statements. And the burden of proof is on you. If you're making the allegation that these people are lying, prove it. We're talking about sworn police officers. We're talking about people who are still there working in Newtown. You can call right now, and you can contact Officer Newt. He'll pick up the phone, maybe not today, but every time I've called, I've talked to Sergeant Colburn. I've talked to Newt. I've talked to various people. They're still active duty there. Okay, so these weren't actors in some kind of Mossad plot that Professor Fetzer believes. He's changed his story so many times. The burden of proof is on you, Mr. Halbig, and you haven't proven anything. You keep saying that you're going to file these lawsuits. You went on Michael Rivera's show on the 13th and said in 2 weeks I'm going to file a lawsuit. Well, it's 3 weeks now, and still no lawsuit.
Why are you so interested in keeping up with me, Keith? You don't have a job? Don't you have a life? I'm going to give you one example, okay?
Yeah, and guys, let's stick to the incident. I understand the personal attacks. You guys want to jab each other, but let's just stick to Sandy Hook. But go ahead, Mr. Halbig.
Let me just give you one fact, okay? Let's just start with this one, okay? I'm sure Keith will have the answer. How in the world can the public information officer for the Connecticut State Police, in an interview with Scott Pelley from 60 Minutes, this is an interview that's seen worldwide, where Scott Pelley simply asked a question. It must have been a horrific scene when you were inside the Sandy Hook school. And what does Paul Van say? Yes, it was. It was unbelievable. And Scott Pelley says, where was the shooter? Guess what your lieutenant says? He was found in the hallway. Now, there is the spokesperson. This is a man who threatens every American who gives out misinformation, that if you, on the social network, if you provide misinformation, that you can be prosecuted. Here is a lieutenant from the Connecticut police. He is the spokesperson, and he looks at Scott Pelley in the eyes, and he said the shooter was found in the hallway. And then when you look at the Danbury Studensky report, the final 7,000 pages, every time, whether it's crime scene technologists or anyone else in their report, whether it's a policeman, Connecticut, or Newtown, they say the body of Adam Lanza was found in classroom 10. So now, why would Vance lie, Keith?
Hello?
Yep, go ahead, Keith. Did you hear that question?
Yeah, okay. What he's specific, okay, Mr. Halbig likes to add words to things. He was found in the hallway, Mr. Halbig says. Well, what he specifically says...
Vance said that, not Halbig said that.
No, I know, but he said it was a very short reply in the hall. It was outside. I saw the interview. Yes. Okay. So what does that mean? If you look at the report, it says that the hallway consists of. Have you ever heard of like the North Hall, the South Hall? The hall consists of classrooms 8, 10, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So that's a specific part of the building, the hall, okay, which consists of room 10. Yes, if you look at where Adam Lanza's body is found, where you see the blood and you see the door, who knows? Maybe his body was half in the classroom, half out. Maybe Mr. Vance Lieutenant Vance was given bad information. But really, I mean, is that reason to believe that this was a hoax? I mean,
No, he observed it. Listen,
who knows if that was told to him, or if he thought
stay with the
specifically?
facts and stay with the words. No opinions. When Van says on Scott Pelley, he says, I saw the shooter's body in the hallway. It's not halfway into the classroom.
Did you just say that? Did you just say that the reporter says, where did you see him, or did you say, where was the shooter found?
Where was the shooter's body found? He says it was found in the hallway, not a classroom, not halfway in. See, you're twisting everything. You can't admit that a Connecticut police officer is lying.
You're the one who said that Pena was in a classroom and said that he found multiple weapons, including long rifles and shotguns. That's not where he said that. He came out of the classroom and he was talking to other units.
Hey, stay with Vance. Let's stay Vance. Let's clear that up for Rob, okay? And all the people that are going to be listening on this on Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's clear this up. Is Lieutenant Vance lying or not? He's telling Scott Pelley 60 Minutes.
You're saying that he's lying, or did he get his information wrong? There's a big difference.
No, he said, Scott Pelley said, what did the scene look like? And Vance responded, it was horrific. That means he was inside the school, and when he's asked the question, where was the shooter's body? Vance replies, it was in the hallway. Stay focused, Keith.
Well, let's move on to I agree. Let's move on. Okay. Let's move on to another topic, and this is one I'll bring up. Two things. One is the squad car video. They claim in the report that they were evacuating 400 kids out of this school, and the squad car's right there, and you don't see anybody coming through. Now, maybe and this is on the film, we need to talk about Sandy Hook. Maybe the filmmakers edited that part out. I don't know. I think they would have shown kids if they saw them. But Keith, and then also you have the officers setting up a lunch table on top of the squad car, eating lunch during this scene. Do you think that's a normal response to this? Like, police officers are going to, hey, let's go get lunch now, you know? What do you think of that?
Normal response for, well, people have to eat. Yeah, get
I
their
know
energy
people have
up.
to eat.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see. I mean, Mr. Alex makes a big deal about that, and he also makes a big deal about priority for porta potties when he doesn't even stop to consider that we're talking about a crime scene. You're not going to have people spreading their DNA behind the back of the school or going into the restrooms there, which is an active crime scene. And they bring these porta potty. He says priorities for porta potties. They didn't come until like 11 o'clock hour. Okay, so I can see a big reason why